Let nothing external control your inner peace. In every age of human history, the search for inner peace has been the central thread connecting cultures, philosophies, and spiritual traditions. From the quiet monasteries in the East to the philosophical dialogues of ancient Greece, from the reflective poetry of Sufi mystics to the writings of Stoic thinkers, human beings have always sought to answer one pressing question. How can one remain calm, centered, and unshaken amidst the storms of life? The answer is not found in trying to control everything outside of us, because the external world is, by nature, unpredictable and unstable. Instead, the deepest wisdom suggests that peace is cultivated within. It is a fortress built inside the soul, one that cannot be conquered by external circumstances unless we willingly surrender its gates. To let nothing external control your inner peace is to understand the essential truth that the world is filled with uncertainty. People will change, fortunes will rise and fall, events will unfold beyond your control, and loss will eventually visit every life. Yet within this truth lies a liberating power. You are not defined by what happens outside you, but by how you respond within yourself. If you can anchor your soul to principles deeper than circumstances, then you carry a stillness that remains unbroken even in the most turbulent of storms. This text will guide you through 5 great dimensions of cultivating such inner resilience. Each section will be explored deeply with the purpose of not only presenting abstract ideas, but giving you a lived sense of what it means to guard your inner sanctuary. You will see how external validation, material possessions, the judgments of others, the chaos of events, and even the rise and fall of emotions need not dictate your serenity. By the end, you will see that the path to peace is not about escaping the world, but mastering your relationship with it. We begin with the first great dimension, detaching your inner peace from external validation. The illusion of validation, freeing yourself from the need for approval. Human beings are inherently social. From the moment we are born, we seek recognition, care, and approval. A child cries for the attention of its mother. A student studies to gain the praise of a teacher. An adult works hard to secure acknowledgement from colleagues or friends. There is nothing unnatural in this. It is part of our shared humanity. However, the danger begins when our sense of worth, identity, and inner peace becomes chained to the shifting opinions and validations of the external world. Imagine a person who feels good only when praised, but collapses into despair when criticized. Such a life is a prison built from the judgments of others. One day the world celebrates you, and you feel on top of the mountain. The next day, the same world ignores or condemns you, and you tumble into a valley of insecurity. To live in such dependence is to surrender your most sacred treasure, your inner calm, to forces you cannot control. The pursuit of external validation is like chasing shadows. It offers fleeting satisfaction, a temporary rush of worthiness, but it evaporates quickly, leaving you emptier than before. No amount of praise will ever be enough, because the mind, conditioned to seek approval, will always hunger for more. It becomes addicted to the applause, desperate for recognition, afraid of silence. And when silence comes, as it inevitably does, the person feels invisible, forgotten, or unworthy. The great teachers across time have warned against this trap. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. What he meant was simple: the world's judgments only hold the power you choose to give them. Similarly, the Buddha taught that the search for external validation leads only to suffering, because it ties your well-being to impermanent and unreliable sources. True peace comes from detachment, recognizing that your value is not something others bestow upon you, but something you discover within yourself. Consider the lives of those who made history by refusing to let the opinions of others dictate their paths. Socrates accepted death rather than betray his principles, despite the condemnation of his city. Spiritual figures like Jesus, the Prophet Muhammad, or the mystics of every tradition endured rejection, persecution, and misunderstanding. Yet they moved with a calm rooted not in the shifting approval of men, but in their alignment with a higher truth. Their peace was unshakable because it did not depend on external applause. But how do we, in our daily modern lives, cultivate such strength? The answer lies in a conscious shift, learning to value the approval of your own conscience over the applause of the crowd. When you live in alignment with your deepest principles, integrity, compassion, wisdom, then you can walk through life with confidence regardless of whether others cheer or jeer. You no longer need the mirror of external validation because you carry your own mirror within. This does not mean becoming arrogant or indifferent to others. It means recognizing that external approval is pleasant but not essential, like a flower on the path rather than the ground beneath your feet. You can appreciate it without depending on it. This shift frees you from constant anxiety because you no longer wake up each morning wondering what others think of you. Instead, you ask, did I live today in truth? Did I act with kindness? Did I remain aligned with my values? These questions become your compass, and they cannot be stolen by the shifting winds of external judgment. The process of freeing yourself from the illusion of validation requires practice. It begins with awareness, catching yourself in moments when you act or speak primarily for approval. Ask, if no one praised me for this, would I still do it? If no one noticed, would I still value it? Slowly, this awareness becomes strength. You begin to anchor yourself in self-respect rather than external applause. Over time, you will notice something remarkable. The less you need validation, the freer and more authentic you become. Paradoxically, this authenticity often attracts genuine respect from others, but even when it does not, you remain undisturbed. You discover the secret joy of living from the inside out. Let nothing external, especially the fleeting approval of others, control your inner peace. To do so is to reclaim your birthright, the freedom to be fully yourself without chains. When you no longer need the world's applause to feel whole, you become unshakable, like a mountain unmoved by passing clouds. And now, dear reader and listener, if you want to continue walking this path of wisdom and inner freedom with us, remember to subscribe to this channel. By joining, you support not only this journey of reflection, but also your own growth, ensuring that these teachings accompany you in every step toward a calmer, freer life. Detachment from material possessions, the impermanence of external wealth. The world has always presented wealth, possessions, and material success as keys to peace and happiness. From the ancient kingdoms that measured power in land and gold to the modern society that glorifies luxury, status, and abundance, humanity has been conditioned to believe that external accumulation leads to internal fulfillment. Yet when we look closer, we see that material possessions are unstable, impermanent, and ultimately incapable of granting true peace. To tie your inner serenity to them is to build your house on sand, destined to collapse when the storms of life arrive. The wisdom of detachment from possessions does not mean abandoning all things or living in poverty, but rather recognizing the truth of impermanence and refusing to let ownership define your sense of self or determine your inner calm. Consider the nature of possessions themselves. Every object we acquire is destined to decay, break, or pass into other hands. The clothes we wear will fade, the houses we build will crumble with time, the cars we drive will rust, and even the treasures we guard most carefully will eventually slip away, either through loss or through the simple inevitability of death. No possession is eternal, yet human beings often cling to them as if they were anchors of identity and meaning. The paradox is clear. We try to secure permanence through what is inherently impermanent. This contradiction is one of the greatest causes of suffering. Look at the endless pursuit of consumer culture. The modern world teaches people to chase one acquisition after another. A new phone today is outdated tomorrow. A new car loses value the moment it leaves the dealership. A house admired today may tomorrow feel insufficient compared to the larger homes of neighbors. The cycle of desire never ends because possessions cannot fulfill the deeper hunger of the soul. They provide temporary comfort, but soon the void reopens, demanding another purchase, another upgrade, another illusion of satisfaction. The Buddha described this cycle as thirst, or tanha, the endless craving that binds human beings to suffering. He taught that liberation comes not from satisfying every desire, but from seeing through the illusion that desire itself brings peace. To detach from possessions is not to deny their usefulness. We need clothes, shelter, and food. We need tools to work, books to learn, and spaces to live. But there is a difference between using possessions wisely and being possessed by them. When you use possessions, they serve your journey. When you are possessed by them, you serve theirs. The chains of attachment grow heavier the more you identify your worth with what you own. The mind whispers, "I am valuable because I have more than others. I'm secure because I own property. I'm respected because of the clothes I wear or the brands I carry." Yet these thoughts are illusions, for the respect and security they generate are shallow and fragile, always at risk of collapse. History is full of examples that reveal the futility of material clinging. The mighty empires of Rome, Persia, Egypt, and countless others built monuments of wealth and power, yet all eventually fell, leaving behind ruins that remind us of impermanence. Kings and queens buried with treasures did not take those treasures beyond the grave. They became artifacts in museums, stripped of their original meaning. Even the wealthiest individuals cannot stop the march of time, disease, or death. To tie your peace to possessions is to chain your soul to the wheel of impermanence. Detachment, however, does not mean renunciation of life's beauty. Rather, it is a shift in perspective. It means learning to appreciate without clinging, to enjoy without depending, to use without identifying. The Stoics practiced this awareness by reminding themselves daily of the transient nature of all things. Epictetus taught, "Never say of anything, 'I have lost it,' but 'I have returned it.' If your child dies, it is returned. If your wealth is lost, it is returned. If your health fades, it is returned. For nothing is truly yours except the way you govern your mind and respond to circumstances. To live in this way is to carry peace that cannot be stolen." The practice of detachment begins with simple steps. First, awareness. Observe your own relationship with possessions. Do you feel anxious when you lose or break something? Do you measure your worth by what you own? Do you compare your possessions with others? These are signs of attachment. Second, gratitude. Learn to appreciate what you have without clinging to it. Gratitude shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance, from craving to contentment. When you are grateful, you enjoy possessions while they are present, but accept their departure without despair. Third, generosity. By giving away, you loosen the chains of attachment. Acts of generosity remind you that possessions are tools, not treasures, and that sharing them multiplies their meaning. Imagine a life where peace is no longer tied to the fragility of wealth. You may lose money, but you do not lose yourself. You may lose objects, but not your serenity. You may walk through fire, storms, or poverty, yet your soul remains anchored in calm. Such a life is unshakable because its foundation lies not in possessions, but in inner clarity. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "You may have occasion to possess or use material things, but the secret of life lies in never missing them." He lived with simplicity not as deprivation, but as liberation. The fewer the chains, the lighter the spirit. Our modern society often mocks simplicity, equating it with weakness or failure. But the truth is the opposite. It takes strength to live without attachment, because it means standing against the tide of endless consumption. It means choosing peace over possession, meaning over status, freedom over slavery to desire. Those who cultivate this strength discover that joy does not come from ownership, but from being alive, from experiencing beauty, from living in harmony with truth. The bird does not own the sky, yet it sings freely. The tree does not own the earth, yet it grows in majesty. Likewise, you need not own the world to live fully within it. Detachment also protects you from fear. Those who are attached to possessions live in constant anxiety, fear of theft, fear of loss, fear of destruction, fear of poverty. But those who are free from attachment walk with courage, because nothing external can shatter their peace. This is why sages and monks throughout history, though often poor in possessions, radiated profound serenity. They discovered the secret that true wealth lies not in what you hold in your hands, but in what you carry in your heart. One may ask, if possessions cannot give peace, why pursue them at all? The answer is balance. Use possessions to serve life, not to define it. Own them without being owned. Let them pass through your hands like water, refreshing but not binding. When you adopt this balance, you free yourself from both extremes, the emptiness of endless desire and the rigidity of complete renunciation. You live in the middle path, appreciating what comes, releasing what goes, holding peace within regardless of external circumstances. Ultimately, detachment from possessions is about freedom. It is the freedom to smile when you lose something because you know you never truly owned it. It is the freedom to walk lightly through life, unburdened by greed or fear. It is the freedom to find joy in the simple presence of being, without the constant hunger for more. To let nothing external control your inner peace means to look at wealth, houses, treasures, and objects with clarity. They are useful, but they are not you. They are passing, but your spirit endures. They can be taken, but your peace cannot, unless you hand it over willingly. So let this truth settle deeply. You are not what you own. You are not your bank account, your clothes, your home, your car, or your possessions. You are the awareness that experiences them, the spirit that lives beyond them, the being that remains when all else fades. When you root your peace in this truth, no loss can break you, no poverty can diminish you, no abundance can corrupt you. You walk in freedom, carrying serenity that no external wealth can buy or steal. And now, as we continue this journey toward unshakable inner peace, I invite you to pause for a moment. Reflect on your relationship with possessions, on the subtle ways they may have bound your spirit, and on the liberating power of letting go. If these reflections resonate with you, if you seek more wisdom to guide you toward a life of true freedom and inner calm, I ask you to subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you ensure that these teachings continue to reach you, reminding you each day that the greatest wealth is within and the greatest peace is untouchable by the external world. Freedom from the judgments of others, reclaiming the sovereignty of your inner world. Human beings have always lived within communities, tribes, and societies, and this reality has always carried with it a double-edged sword. On one hand, being part of a group provides safety, belonging, and companionship. On the other, it creates an endless field of judgment, comparison, and social pressure. From the earliest days, the tribe judged who was acceptable and who was not, who belonged and who did not, and this power of judgment could mean the difference between survival and exile. That ancient instinct remains within us, shaping modern life in subtler but equally powerful ways. Today, the judgment of others may not cast us into physical exile, but it can exile us from peace, trapping us in anxiety, insecurity, and fear of rejection. To let nothing external control your inner peace means also learning to free yourself from the weight of these judgments, reclaiming sovereignty over your inner world so that no opinion, praise, or condemnation can disturb the stillness of your heart. Judgment from others manifests in many forms. It may come as criticism, gossip, dismissal, or even silent disapproval. It may also come disguised as praise or approval, which can be equally dangerous if you begin to depend on it for validation. The core problem is not the judgment itself, but the power we give to it. When you allow another person's opinion to define your worth, you surrender the keys of your inner sanctuary to them. You allow them to dictate your self-perception, which should remain your own sacred responsibility. The weight of judgment often begins in childhood. A child learns quickly that approval brings rewards and criticism brings punishment. Teachers, parents, and peers all contribute to shaping a child's image of self through judgment. As adults, these patterns remain deeply ingrained. The desire to please, the fear of rejection, the dread of being misunderstood. Modern society amplifies this pressure through social media, where every post, picture, and comment becomes subject to likes, shares, or silence, each carrying the power to elevate or diminish someone's sense of worth. The result is a culture deeply entangled in the judgments of others, where inner peace is constantly disturbed by external voices. But the truth, as the great spiritual and philosophical teachers have long declared, is that the opinions of others are fleeting, inconsistent, and unreliable. One day they praise you, the next they condemn you, one crowd admires you, another despises you. To base your peace on their shifting judgments is to live in a constant storm, tossed endlessly by waves you cannot control. The Stoics emphasized that the only domain we truly control is our own mind, our thoughts, choices, and responses. Everything else, including the judgments of others, lies outside our control. To cling to them is to invite endless suffering. To begin freeing yourself from judgment, you must first recognize its impermanence. The people who judge you today will be gone tomorrow, their voices fading like echoes in a valley. Even if their judgments persist, they cannot touch the essence of who you are unless you allow them to. Epictetus reminded his students, "If someone speaks ill of you, remember that you are not the one who is troubled, but the one who thinks it is important to be troubled." This means that the true disturbance comes not from the judgment itself, but from our reaction to it, from the meaning we attach to it. This recognition leads to a liberating practice, cultivating indifference to the noise of external voices. Indifference does not mean arrogance, nor does it mean rejecting feedback that can help you grow. It means learning to listen without surrendering your peace, to weigh words without letting them dominate your spirit, to see that another person's perception is a reflection of their own world, not an absolute truth about you. When someone judges you harshly, it often reveals more about their fears, biases, and limitations than about your reality. To internalize this perspective is to cut the strings that tie your soul to the puppetry of public opinion. Consider the lives of those who pursued truth in defiance of judgment. Socrates was condemned for corrupting the youth of Athens, yet he drank the hemlock with serenity because his peace was rooted in his conscience, not in the approval of the crowd. Jesus was mocked and crucified, yet he forgave his persecutors because he lived from a higher truth that no human judgment could touch. The Buddha was criticized by rivals and skeptics, yet he remained equanimous, knowing that truth does not depend on recognition. These figures remind us that to walk a path of authenticity requires detachment from both the praise and condemnation of others. In modern life, you may not face such dramatic trials, but the principle remains the same. Perhaps colleagues judge your choices, family questions your path, or friends misunderstand your values. Perhaps strangers online criticize your appearance, your work, or your words. If you allow these voices to dictate your emotions, you will live in constant turmoil. But if you root yourself in self-knowledge, aligning with your deepest values and principles, then their voices lose power. You remain calm, like a tree that does not tremble with every wind. How do we cultivate this calm in practice? It begins with awareness. Notice when a judgment affects you deeply. Ask yourself, why does this matter so much to me? What power am I giving to this voice? Often you will discover that beneath the sting lies a deeper insecurity or attachment. By facing this honestly, you loosen the grip of judgment. Next, practice recentering your worth within. Remind yourself daily, my peace does not come from others' opinions. My worth is not measured by their words. I am aligned with my values, and that is enough. This becomes an inner shield against the arrows of judgment. Another powerful practice is compassion. When you see judgment as a reflection of another person's inner struggles, you stop taking it personally. Criticism often springs from envy, fear, or ignorance. Praise often springs from projection or expectation. When you recognize this, you respond with compassion rather than anger or despair. You see the other not as a judge, but as a fellow human navigating their own illusions. This shift softens the sting of judgment and restores your peace. The more you detach from judgment, the more authentic your life becomes. No longer bound by fear of disapproval, you begin to act from your true self. You speak with honesty, live with integrity, and pursue paths that resonate with your soul rather than with social expectation. Paradoxically, this authenticity often attracts genuine respect, but even when it does not, you remain unshaken because your peace is no longer dependent on the fragile approval of others. Imagine the freedom of walking into any room without worrying about how you are perceived. Imagine speaking your truth without trembling at the thought of rejection. Imagine creating, working, or loving without the chains of comparison or criticism. This freedom is possible when you reclaim sovereignty over your inner world, when you remember that judgment cannot touch the core of who you are. At the heart of this liberation is the recognition that the only true judge of your life is your own conscience. If you live aligned with truth, compassion, and integrity, then no external voice can disturb your peace. Others may misunderstand you, but misunderstanding does not alter reality. Others may condemn you, but condemnation does not change the essence of your being. You remain whole, complete, and at peace, regardless of the noise around you. To let nothing external control your inner peace requires courage. It means standing firm when others push, remaining calm when others provoke, and staying rooted when others try to shake you. But this courage is the gateway to true serenity. For once, you stop giving your power away to the judgments of others. You discover the unshakable stillness within, a sanctuary that no crowd can invade, no opinion can alter, and no rejection can destroy. And now, as you reflect on these truths, I invite you once again. If these words resonate with your own journey, if you wish to walk further into this path of freedom and authenticity, then take a moment to subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you affirm your commitment to inner peace and ensure that guidance, wisdom, and encouragement will continue to meet you here, strengthening your resolve to remain sovereign over your inner world. Mastering chaos, how to remain peaceful amid life's storms. Life is not designed to be calm. It has never been calm. From the earliest days of human existence, storms of uncertainty, conflict, loss, and change have been the very fabric of existence. We are born into a world of impermanence, where every day can bring unexpected news, sudden challenges, or profound changes that unsettle the soul. To let nothing external control your inner peace means also learning to master the storms of life, not by stopping them, because that is impossible, but by refusing to let their chaos infiltrate and govern your inner world. The sea will always have waves, but the wise sailor learns not to calm the ocean, but to steady his boat. When we think of chaos, we often imagine disasters, tragedies, or crises. But chaos is not only present in large events. It lives in the small unpredictabilities of daily life. The traffic jam that delays your plans, the broken appliance that disrupts your routine, the argument that erupts out of nowhere, the illness that comes unexpectedly, or the sudden shift in financial circumstances. Each moment of unpredictability carries the power to disturb peace if you let it. The truth is that most people do not lose peace because of extraordinary tragedies, but because of small, daily disturbances that accumulate. They allow every wave of chaos to toss them back and forth until inner serenity becomes impossible. The first step toward mastering chaos is to accept its inevitability. Most suffering arises not from chaos itself, but from the resistance to it. When you expect life to be smooth, every disruption feels like an attack, every storm feels unjust, every wave feels overwhelming. But when you accept that life is naturally unpredictable, chaos no longer surprises you. You begin to expect the unexpected, to greet storms as part of the journey, not as an interruption of it. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, training the mind to anticipate difficulties so that when they arrive, the heart remains unshaken. Acceptance does not mean passivity, it means clarity. When chaos comes, you do not waste energy wishing it were not there, but instead turn your attention to how you will respond. This shift transforms chaos from an enemy into a teacher. Each disruption becomes an opportunity to practice patience, resilience, and wisdom. Instead of drowning in complaint, you learn to swim in calm response. Consider the great storms of history. Wars, plagues, economic collapses, and revolutions have all disrupted human life. Yet within those storms, some individuals radiated peace and leadership. Think of Marcus Aurelius, who ruled Rome during wars and plagues, yet wrote his meditations as a personal guide to remain calm within. Think of Viktor Frankl, who endured the chaos of concentration camps, yet discovered that freedom lies in choosing one's attitude regardless of external conditions. Think of countless spiritual teachers who lived amid persecution, exile, and instability, yet maintained unshakable serenity. Their example reveals that chaos is not an obstacle to peace, but a stage upon which peace can be practiced and proven. To master chaos, you must learn the art of detachment from control. Most chaos disturbs us because it exposes our lack of control over the external world. We plan, prepare, and build, but still, events unfold beyond our power. Illness strikes despite health, accidents happen despite caution, relationships end despite effort. The illusion of control shatters, leaving us in despair. But when you realize deeply that control was never truly yours, you no longer collapse when chaos proves it. You shift your energy from controlling events to controlling responses. The one thing chaos cannot steal is your ability to choose your attitude. This truth becomes the foundation of peace. Imagine two individuals caught in the same storm. One curses the rain, shakes in fear, and blames fate. The other accepts the storm as natural, takes shelter where possible, and remains calm. The storm is the same, but the inner worlds are different. Peace is not the absence of storms. It is the presence of a calm center within them. To cultivate this center requires practice, and the practice begins with stillness. In moments of chaos, the mind races, the heart pounds, and fear rises. If you react instantly, you are swept away. But if you pause, breathe, and return to inner stillness, you reclaim sovereignty over the moment. The storm continues, but it no longer controls you. Meditation, prayer, and reflective practices train the mind for such stillness. By spending time each day anchoring yourself in silence, you prepare your inner world for storms. Just as a warrior trains before battle, so the seeker of peace trains in stillness before chaos arrives. When storms come, the practice guides you back to the center. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond wisely. Instead of panicking, you see clearly. Instead of collapsing, you stand firm. Another way to master chaos is to see it as impermanent. No storm lasts forever. The darkest night eventually yields to dawn. The fiercest storm eventually calms. By remembering impermanence, you prevent chaos from overwhelming your perspective. You remind yourself, this too shall pass. What feels unbearable today will become tomorrow's memory. By holding this awareness, you reduce the power chaos has over your peace. At the same time, chaos often carries hidden gifts. It disrupts, yes, but it also awakens. Many people discover their true strength not in calm times, but in storms. Adversity often reveals resilience, creativity, and courage we did not know we possessed. Chaos can strip away illusions, showing us what truly matters. It can break attachments that enslaved us, force us to grow, or open doors we would never have chosen on our own. Seen from this perspective, chaos is not only a threat, but also a sacred invitation to transformation. The ability to find meaning in chaos is one of the most powerful sources of peace. Viktor Frankl wrote that those who survived the concentration camps were those who found meaning in suffering. When chaos becomes not just random pain, but a stage for growth, the soul rises above it. You may not control the storm, but you can control the story you tell about it. That story determines whether chaos destroys your peace or deepens it. Another essential practice in mastering chaos is simplifying your life. The more complex and rigid your attachments, the more chaos can disturb you. If your peace depends on a fragile schedule, a fixed plan, or perfect conditions, chaos will constantly steal it. But if you simplify, reducing unnecessary attachments, creating flexible routines, embracing adaptability, you become harder to disturb. Simplicity is strength because it makes you resilient to disruption. Equally important is cultivating resilience through perspective. Ask yourself in moments of chaos, will this matter in a year, in 5 years, in the span of my lifetime? Most chaos, when seen from a larger perspective, loses its power. We often magnify the importance of temporary disturbances, forgetting that they are small in the great tapestry of life. By widening your vision, you shrink chaos to its true size, making it easier to remain calm. Community also plays a role in mastering chaos. Though peace is ultimately an inner practice, supportive relationships provide strength. Sharing burdens, receiving encouragement, and walking with others who value peace help you remain centered. In storms, isolation increases despair, but companionship strengthens resolve. Yet even here, caution is needed. Your peace must not depend entirely on others, or their own chaos will drag you down. Use community as support, not as a crutch. Ultimately, mastering chaos is about identity. If you see yourself as fragile, vulnerable, and at the mercy of circumstances, chaos will always control you. But if you see yourself as resilient, strong, and rooted in deeper truths, chaos cannot break you. Identity shapes response. When you remember that you are not the storm, but the sky that holds it, not the wave, but the ocean beneath, then chaos loses its grip. You remain vast, untouched, and eternal, even as storms pass overhead. Let nothing external, not even chaos itself, control your inner peace. Life will always bring storms, but you are not the storm. You are the awareness that watches it, the strength that endures it, the calm that rises above it. To master chaos is to live with unshakable serenity, carrying a stillness that no external turbulence can disturb. It is to walk through fire without burning, to face storms without drowning, to live in a world of impermanence while anchored in eternity. And now, as you reflect on these truths, I invite you to take the next step in this journey. If you wish to continue receiving guidance on cultivating this inner strength, if you wish to grow in your ability to remain calm, no matter how fierce the storms of life, then I ask you to subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you not only support this work, but also commit yourself to walking the path of unshakable peace, carrying within you a serenity that nothing external can steal. Rising above your own emotions, becoming the master of the inner self. Perhaps the most subtle yet most powerful challenge in the pursuit of inner peace is not the external world of possessions, judgments, or chaos, but the internal world of emotions. For even when you learn to detach from wealth, ignore the judgments of others, and remain steady amid storms, there is still the undeniable force of your own feelings. Anger, fear, sadness, jealousy, despair, and even joy when it becomes dependence. Emotions are part of the human condition. They are the waves within the ocean of the soul. Yet like the ocean itself, you are far deeper and greater than any wave. To let nothing external control your inner peace, you must also learn not to let the turbulence of your own emotional storms dictate the state of your soul. You must become master of the inner self, learning to rise above emotions without suppressing them, to observe them without being enslaved by them, to use them as signals without mistaking them for truth. Emotions themselves are not enemies. They are natural responses to experiences, a language of the soul that communicates needs, warnings, and insights. Fear protects us from danger. Anger alerts us to injustice. Sadness allows us to grieve and heal. Joy uplifts us into gratitude. The problem arises when emotions cease to be temporary visitors and instead become tyrants ruling our minds. When fear dominates, it paralyzes. When anger dominates, it blinds. When sadness dominates, it consumes. When even joy dominates, it creates addiction to circumstances. Peace is lost, not because emotions exist, but because we mistake them for permanent truths. The first step in mastering emotions is awareness. Most people are carried away by emotions unconsciously, reacting impulsively without realizing what is happening. They lash out in anger, collapse in fear, or despair in sadness, then later wonder why they feel so unstable. But awareness transforms this pattern. When you pause and recognize, I am experiencing anger right now, or I feel fear rising within me, you create distance between yourself and the emotion. You are no longer fully inside it. You are the observer watching it. This simple recognition begins to shift power back to you. The practice of observing emotions without judgment is central in many traditions. In Buddhism, mindfulness teaches us to notice feelings as they arise, seeing them as passing clouds rather than eternal truths. In Stoicism, philosophers advise to pause before reacting, asking whether the emotion aligns with reason and virtue. In modern psychology, the practice of cognitive awareness emphasizes naming emotions as a way to reduce their intensity. Across cultures and times, the wisdom is the same. To see emotions clearly is to begin mastering them. Once awareness is cultivated, the next step is acceptance. Many people resist negative emotions, trying to suppress or deny them. They tell themselves not to feel anger, not to feel fear, not to feel sadness, but suppression only strengthens emotions, burying them alive so they return with greater force. Acceptance means allowing emotions to exist without letting them control you. It is saying, I feel anger right now, and that is okay. I will not act blindly from it, but I will allow it to pass. This acceptance creates space for emotions to move through you like waves, rising and falling naturally. Mastery also requires understanding the impermanence of emotions. No feeling, however intense, lasts forever. Fear fades, sadness softens, joy transforms. The mind often tricks us into believing that emotions will last indefinitely, leading to despair in sorrow or desperation in happiness. But when you remember that emotions are temporary, you regain perspective. You tell yourself, this storm will pass. This wave will settle. This is not eternal. Such remembrance keeps peace intact even in the midst of emotional turbulence. But mastery goes beyond endurance. It involves transformation. Emotions carry energy, and that energy can be redirected. Anger, for instance, when mastered, becomes courage and determination to confront injustice wisely. Fear, when mastered, becomes alertness and careful preparation. Sadness, when mastered, becomes compassion and depth of soul. Even joy, when mastered, becomes gratitude that does not depend on circumstances. To master emotions is not to eliminate them, but to refine them into virtues. One of the greatest dangers of emotions is that they often bind us to external conditions. We are happy when circumstances align with desires, sad when they do not, confident when praised, insecure when criticized, calm when things go smoothly, anxious when they do not. In this way, emotions tether our peace to the unpredictability of life, But when you learn to rise above them, you reclaim peace regardless of circumstances. You may feel sadness, but remain peaceful within it. You may feel fear, but remain grounded. You may feel joy, but not cling to it. Peace becomes the constant background upon which emotions arise and fade, like waves on the surface of a deep, still ocean. Consider the example of the Buddha under the Bodhi tree. Legends say he was assaulted by demons representing fear, desire, and anger, yet he remained unmoved, observing them until they disappeared. Whether literal or symbolic, the story illustrates emotional mastery, the ability to face inner storms without being consumed by them. Similarly, Stoic thinkers like Seneca wrote about practicing calm in the face of grief or loss, not by denying sorrow, but by remembering that even sorrow is part of nature's design. Modern examples include those who endure illness with serenity, or those who lose everything materially, yet remain inwardly calm. These are not superhuman beings, but individuals who discovered the secret of not letting emotions control the essence of their peace. In daily life, practicing this mastery requires constant attention. Begin with small situations, the irritation in traffic, the disappointment of plans changing, the fear before a challenge. In these moments, pause, breathe, and observe. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why is this arising? Does this emotion deserve to control me? Such questions train your mind to remain sovereign. Over time, as you face larger storms, this practice becomes second nature. You do not deny emotions, but you do not serve them either. Another powerful practice is to anchor emotions in deeper values. For example, when anger arises, ask, does this align with my value of compassion? When fear arises, ask, does this align with my value of courage? Values become the compass that guides you through emotional storms. They remind you that emotions are temporary, but values are enduring. By returning to values, you ensure that your actions flow from wisdom, not from passing feelings. Equally important is cultivating compassion for yourself. Many people judge themselves harshly for feeling strong emotions, creating secondary suffering, sadness about sadness, anger about anger, fear about fear. But peace comes not through judgment, but through gentle acceptance. To tell yourself, I am human, I feel deeply, and that is okay, is to create an inner environment where emotions can rise and pass without disturbance. Self-compassion transforms emotions into teachers rather than tyrants. The ultimate stage of mastery is transcendence, realizing that you are not your emotions at all. You are the awareness in which they appear. Just as the sky is not the clouds, you are not the passing emotions. This realization is liberating. Emotions no longer define you, they visit you. They are experiences, not identity. To live in this awareness is to live in profound freedom, where peace remains untouched no matter what emotional storms arise. Let nothing external, not even the storms of your own heart, control your inner peace. Emotions will come and go, but your essence remains. You are deeper than sadness, stronger than fear, greater than anger, freer than joy itself. When you anchor peace in this truth, you become unshakable. Life may throw challenges, relationships may end, fortunes may rise or fall, but your peace endures. Carried within like a flame, no wind can extinguish. And now, at the conclusion of this journey through mastering emotions, I invite you once again, if these words resonate with your own search for freedom and serenity, if you wish to continue walking the path of wisdom, resilience, and inner strength, then please subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you commit not only to hearing more teachings, but to cultivating within yourself a peace that no external force, no judgment, no chaos, and no emotion can ever destroy.